Succession planning. Every company I've ever worked for, there was always a succession plan. So in terms of succession plan, do you guys believe in it, or is it better for companies to hire someone new for your replacement?
I think they're almost independent considerations, because the right skill set you bring into the company, no matter what, whether they're going to be a successor or not, right? The only way you get to qualify as a successor is having the right skill set, developing that skill set within the company you're working in, and then being essentially mentored to be a successor, right? So I think you can hire externally, but even then, unless you're in the C-suite, right, and you're expected to come in and basically be the successor right off the bat, I think you have to have the right skill set. You have to hire the right skill set to start with, and then develop them as a successor.
So many companies I've worked for, one of the big initiatives were, we have Kurt here. He's very valuable. Now, who's going to replace Kurt if he, gets hit by a truck, or he goes to another company, right? If he resigns. So it seems to be a big topic of,
Yes.
For business owners, for other managers.
Sure.
Because if Kurt leaves, you're like, we're screwed.
Occupational mobility is much greater.
So, some companies, spend a lot of time and effort into like, well, Kurt, who's reporting to you? Who do you like the most in your team? Train them so that way, if you ever resign, you have someone else to come up the ranks, right? That's how most companies look at it. I don't know if I do. I don't know if, if you are a manager, if you're in a certain position and you have, 5 people working for you, yeah, there could be a chance that one of them, are capable of, stepping up soon. But some of them it's a different skill set, right? Like being a manager and an employee, people think it's the same thing, but they're often not, right? Being a successful employee doesn't mean you can be a successful manager. If you're a successful manager, doesn't mean you're going to be a successful director or an executive. So I'm in the boat of, you should have a backup so someone like Kurt can go on holidays, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to spend all my time and effort to build the next person to replace him, right? Yeah, have some consideration, but know that if Kurt ever leaves, my goal is to hire someone quick and have enough documentation and enough knowledge transfer where someone come in and kind of learn from others, but it's a different set of skills. That's how I look at succession planning.
Well, I think there are two things with one. You have succession planning, and then you have contingency. So with Kurt being a valuable, executive or being in a leadership role, you should have other people who can do his duties, whether he's on vacation or parts of his duties while he's away on vacation, or God forbid something happens to him and he's not able to come to work for a long time. But I think with succession planning, it is any organization that wants to motivate, retain their employees need to say, I have succession planning. Otherwise, what is the middle manager working towards if you don't have on paper that you're working towards a higher level because we have a plan and this is our philosophy as an organization. We're going to, move you along up the ranks. So you have to, as a company, say that we have a succession plan in place. But at the end of the day, if an executive retires or is leaving, they're going to look for the best person to fill that job. And while they may say they have succession planning on paper, if they're posting a high level position and they're going to do it externally, they're going to take the best person who has the best skill set, not because they've been there for, X number of years, reporting to that person that's now leaving or retiring or whatever. And they know the job that they did because, like you said, being an employee and being a manager are two different skill sets. And I also find when a company promotes someone based on tenure, they tend to not do very well because it's a completely different skill set to be a leader than to be a worker that's taking orders and following directions.
My brother was interviewed by, I'm not going to say the company, but they're in the instant food delivery business. And I was surprised at how they looked at succession planning. So he was interviewed for a position. And, the person interviewing is like, well, I'm looking for someone I can hire that can replace me. So that way I can replace my boss and my boss could be replaced, I don't know if that's the best, method. And as you said, Keisha, I think that what you said is true. Yeah, sometimes you get lucky and there's someone that's kind of in a lower position, they do have the skill sets to kind of work their way up, but often they're different skill sets, right? And I think companies should be looking more so at external talent for key roles. If you're just like, replacing people, putting them in position because they were in a position where they were successful, or they've been in the past role, or they have a lot of seniority, I don't know if that's the best method of keeping your company ahead, right? I think it's better to look outside. Yeah, if there's someone there that has the experience with the business,
Right.
plus they're ready, sure. Yeah. But I think often it's different skill sets, and you're better off to go back to the street and hire.
Yeah, and if your company is in trouble, you don't want somebody who's been there 20 years who's going to do the exact same thing that everybody else has been doing. Sometimes you want to bring in fresh ideas, a fresh perspective, in order to create synergy. Didn't we use? We don't use that word anymore. We banned that word. Check out our some older podcasts for that topic.
Any last words on the topic?
No, you guys pretty much covered it all. When you don't have some sort of succession plan within your organization, and again, it's really dependent on the type of role, right? But what's going to happen to the morale in the office with a lot of these employees? They take this job, they work hard, they take all the necessary training that is being provided by the company. Now here's an opportunity for another position, and they automatically see an advertisement for this job, and you weren't even considered as an option to even apply. What does that do to somebody who's put the work in, right? Do you have a conversation to be like, okay, listen, you're not getting this role because I feel like you need to be trained in this and this and this, or you just pretend like, I just want to go outside because I feel like they're going to be bringing fresh ideas to the company. So it's a balancing act, right? And I feel like if you're very transparent with regards to what you're looking for and very honest with your employees, right, they'll understand. But if you're not, and you just do things and keep them in the dark, you have a problem. Because potentially they can be like, you know what? I've done this. I'm going to start looking for a job.
Right.
That's exactly what's happened almost. So in my career, in roles where we had to hire someone, and we didn't even consider the person that was kind of coming up the ranks, or kind of that was the Robin to the Batman. And a few times, actually almost every single time, or not every, but often, the person that didn't get the role thought they deserved it because they've been there, and they basically ended up leaving, right? So that all often happens. So I think it's an important factor to consider that might be the outcome if you don't give that person a chance, that they might leave. But you've kind of already made your decision if you're not even giving them the chance, because you probably think that they're limited, and if they aren't capable of going to the next step, maybe it is better for all sides for the person to look for other opportunities, right? Or if they're happy with where they were.
No, I've seen it on that side, but I've also seen it where that person was so valuable in their role, they couldn't replace that person.
True.
So they held them back. So again, it's very...
No, you're right. You're right.
Man.
And I think one of my first times in my career, in my late 20s, there was an opening, and I thought I would get the manager position, but they hired externally, and I was a little bit bitter, to be honest. But when they came in, I'm like, I'm not that person. Like, they're so much better than me. They're so much A, B, and C.
Right.
So I ended up leaving, right? Partly because of that, but I also, learned a lot from the person, or learned what I needed to do. Not really learned from that person, because I did decide to move on within a few months. But I saw what it would take for me to, come back strong 5 years later, to have that position, not in the same company, but that similar kind of position in another company. So I think I've seen both.
But you recognize that there's employees out there that just because they've been with the company for 14 years, it's automatic, right? And this is the mindset that a lot of people have out there. It's like, it's performance. And the reality is that this is a business. You want to make money, right? And again, if you're not bringing anything fresh, you're just good at following orders. Then
100%. Like, you see that all the time. Like, an office is vacant. Okay, I should get it because I'm the most senior here. And it's a default thing that one person says, at least one person. Or, this person's leaving, and can I get the window seat, or whatever it is, right? and it's all because of seniority. I try to teach people it's not about seniority, it's about contribution. Someone could be there for 6 months or a year and contributed more than someone been there just doing the the bare minimum or the average for 6 years. I hate to put it that way, but
quitting.
it's just
I agree
reality.
with you 100%.
Yeah.
But I think to have a successful succession plan, this is where good performance management comes into play. So if you have open communication and you have SMART goals and you have deliverables that your employees have to meet, and you have conversations as a leader to say, your employee can come to you and say, I want to get to this level. What do I need to do to get there? Then a good leader, and if you have a good succession plan, you're gonna have deliverables and measurable targets that they can hit to demonstrate that they have the skills to get to that level. So it's not just having to say I have a succession plan at the company. I think it is a good thing, but I think it needs to be structured so employees, and be transparent so employees know what is required of them to move to the next level. And if you end up going outside, it's not going to be a surprise to them, because they know what gaps they had with their own experience and what they've delivered, that they weren't a candidate for that job because you're looking for these skill sets and this experience, and they didn't have it.